What's up YouTube, Dal here from UNDEFEATED War Games, and today I am bringing you Rob's pure Scareclaw deck profile. So this deck received a lot of support over many sets, and it's now starting to finally take shape. You can see that at the competitive level of YCS Utrecht, where people are starting to use this as an engine in tier elements, but this pure deck still has a way to pretty much battle the meta itself. It does get more support as it goes through, as this is kind of like the continual arc, like Dogmaticas is going through a lot of sets, so we're going to see where it goes from here. So with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. With all of that out of the way, we're going to dive headfirst into the profile and go over exactly what we've got. So you start off with triple Scareclaw Reinhardt. Now this is obviously the main starter of the deck. This is the one that kind of gets everything going. And yes, it is very, very similar to Rhinoheart for the tier elements because it is all part of the same lore. So you can special on this card from the hand to your main monster zone adjacent to or in the same column of a Scareclaw monster you control. So that's the same of all of the Scareclaws, the Arco, the Ballon, and of course the Astra. They all share that same summoning effect, which is really, really important. What Rhinoheart or Rightheart lets you do is, if it is normal or special, you get to add a Scareclaw spell or trap from your deck to the hand, and then if there are 3 or more defensive monsters on the field, you get to draw 1 card, which again is quite easy as long as you've opened them up, because again, these are all just special summon for free in defense, and then start getting plays off the back of that. When it comes to Scareclaw cards, we already know there are so many that can be searched. It's a shame because technically he can't search you out of the planet, which is the field spell, but you can go straight into a Scareclaw Lightheart, which will do that for you anyway. So you get 2 searches for pretty much the price of 1. The fact that it triggers on normal and special does also give you the ability, if you want to play the adventure package. On top of that, I would then advise putting Cherubini in, but we're going with a Avenger package-less build. You then play 3 of all of the extenders, so you've got the 3 Acro. So again, they all share the same special summon effect. The best thing on top of that is you only get special on it once per turn. However, your Scareclaw monster in the extra monster zone gains 300 attack for each defensive monster you control. So that's really, really important. And then the Ballon. This one gives you the ability that Scareclaw monsters in the extra monster zone attacks a defensive monster, it does inflicting battle damage, piercing damage basically. And then the last one, Astro. Again, a Scareclaw monster in your extra monster zone can attack a number of times each battle phase up to number of defense position Scareclaw monsters you control with different names. So again, that's actually really easy to do, considering that the Link 3 as well also gives you the ability to revive one, so it's at least going to be able to Tryheart will at least be able to attack twice. It's a 3k boss monster, but the idea is that you want to be able to make him, and then you want to be able to try and get Astro, Ballon, and Arco on the board as well, so they can all pretty much boost and attack and pierce and the whole 9 yards. He is playing at triple parallel XZs. This is an interesting one because really it's not as easy to resolve. Considering that all of the Scareclaw monsters want to be in the extra monster zone, you do need to kind of work up to it. Tryheart luckily just requires 3 effect monsters, so it's easy to do. Lightheart requires 1 Scareclaw monster or a Vista Starfrost. So he does play an Almirage in order to trigger that, along with stuff like Dark the Dark Charmer, IP Masquerena, and so on. So by triggering that, what Parallel gives you is it gives you that ability to pretty much climb straight up. So what we mean by that is you can go normal summon Reinhardt, for example, normal summon any of the level 3s, and then turn them into an Almirage. That will then trigger Parallel. Parallel would summon down, and straight away you've got your 3 effect monsters. And then the Tryheart will be able to revive the Scareclaw that you've normal summoned, and then you could turn that into a Lightheart if you want to, or the one you bring back will give an additional effect to Tryheart. So you've got a lot to play with. Then got the one at Vista Starfrost. So obviously the reason behind this is it unlocks synchro plays, which is really, really nice. And if it is in your hand, you get to target a monster you control with a different type. So again, he's a warrior. Everything else is Cyverse. Apart from the right card is Cyverse and Beast. So you've got a lot of ways to try and trigger this and get this on the board. You destroy that monster, and if you do, you get to special summon this card. You only get to use each effects once per turn, so you can't like multi-spam him. And then once per turn, when this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can make this card gain attack equal to half the original attack or defense of that monster, whichever is higher. Now, it's rare you're going to do that. The idea is that he is a free summon that can then become unlock synchro plays. Like, literally, if you parallel and then you're able to right heart, get rid of the other parallel, straight away you're unlocking synchro level 10s, which right now we've got some of the best synchro level 10s around, whether you're going aggression or whether you're going defense. For the generic hand traps, we are playing triple, or he is playing triple Ash Blossom and triple Infinite Impermanence. Obviously, you can interchange these and change these up however you see fit. And then for board breakers, we're playing double Droplet. Again, if you want to play free Droplet, 2 Ash, you want to play Bell, you want to play Ogre, anything like that, you can adapt it. There is space for creativity in this deck, which is what I really, really like about this deck, is that it's not got to the period where all the lists are same. You do have the ability, if you want to, you can go for a full-on go second build, you could go for a super poly build, entirely up to you. It really does have great creativity and adaptiveness that you need. Moving on to the spells, of course we have a triple primitive planet, Reichphobia. I love the name of this card actually, it's really cool. So when this is activated, you get to add a Scareclaw monster, so again, or a Visa Starfrost, so technically it's going to be a free summon. From your deck to the hand. Monsters your opponent controls lose 100 attack and defense for each defense visual monster on the field. If 3 or more defense visual monsters are on the field, you get to target one card your opponent controls and destroy it. You can only use each effect once per turn, and you can only activate 1 planet per turn. So the idea behind this is obviously Lightheart gives you instant access to it, so it's quite like the Agnistas, like the fact you've got a single Link 1 from your extra deck that can be made with pretty much the majority of your deck, to then get to a card like this, which gives you a free search and then will give you the ability to pop should you need to, is really, really important. You may not even really need to. If you wanted to, if you was on an absolute cusp and you're like, I don't know what else to cut, you could cut this down if you wanted to. I wouldn't advise it fully, because obviously once you lose it or get in multiples of this, it's not the end of the world, because every turn you activate another one, you get a search. So it's something that's always going to be utilised in the deck. But if it's one of them ones where you're like, oh, I keep opening up like 3 of this card and then I get killed, then you could argue about like changing it out for something else. But at the moment, it is definitely a free of. Another one that is definitely a free of, in my opinion, is triple Scareclaw Arrival. So this is nuts. So it's a Scareclaw card that's searchable by right card. You can target 1 Scareclaw monster or a Vista Starfrost you can in your graveyard. Special summon it in defense. If a Scareclaw Link monster or monsters you control would be destroyed by battle card effect, you get to banish this card from the graveyard instead. You can only use this effect once per turn. Like, it's absolutely crazy. I love the artwork on it, because it's basically right heart and then you've got Visa Starfrost in the background. So I can't wait for this lore to kind of come to a, not the end, but build up to a point where you can start to tell a full-on story with it. I really, really like this card. The fact, again, it's a monster reborn, trigger the right card will give you a search. There's arguments that you could want to play Foolish Burial in this deck. Completely understandable if you wanted to. That's where I would arguably start considering more so than not playing the the adventure package, because then by doing so, what you're ultimately doing is you're increasing your chances of getting the Water Enchantress, and then you've also got to keep in mind the reason you're playing it like this is for the pure fact that you can get into Cherubini. You don't need your normal summon effect. So there are ways to play around it, which is really, really important, and just gives you like an additional edge that you may not have kind of considered. Yes, obviously it's an increase or an addition of a very expensive engine right now, but it's something to look into and consider. The other Scareclaw cards that we play, or he plays, is the 1 Straddle and the 1 Decline. So Decline is the new one that we got in Darkwind Blast. Straddle came out in Power of the Elements, which was the set before. So this one, you can activate one of the following effects. Target a Scareclaw monster or a Vista Starfrost in your monster zone, and 1 face-up monster your opponent controls. Your monster gains attack and defense equal to that opponent's monster's attack and defense, whichever is higher. When a card or effect is activated that targets a Scareclaw monster or a Vista Starfrost, negate the effect. So it's okay, which is why I wouldn't be bumping it up to more than 1. It targets, but it does let you deal with big boss monsters that can be targeted. Scareclaw Decline, target a primitive planet Reichphobia you control or in your graveyard, return it to the hand. Then if you control Vista Starfrost, you can change 1 face-up monster your opponent controls to face-down defense position. If 3 or more defense position monsters are on the field, you can banish this card from the graveyard to add a Scareclaw card from your graveyard to the hand. So it's great for the late game grind. And obviously it's got the cashiers in the background, which I love the continuation. This one's obviously got the Link one here as well. Really, really kind of cool. Again, it's a one-off. I don't think you want to be pumping it more than that. If it's a quick effect, again, maybe you might consider it. But it just lets you loop the planet back, which kind of comes back to the argument that if you really, really wanted to, you could drop the planet to 2 if you want. Terraforming for the planet. Reinforcing the army. And then a card that I really, really like. And again, it really makes me want to say to him, if he had it, to put the adventure engine in this, is Link into the Reigns. So you special summon a monster from your hand, but you negate its effects. Not that you care. You immediately, after this effect resolves, Link summon 1 Link monster using monsters you control as materials, including the monster that was summoned off of this. The Link summon cannot be negated, and your opponent cannot activate cards or effects when a monster is Link summoned this way. If a Link monster or monsters you control is destroyed by battle or card effect while this is in the graveyard, you banish this card to add 1 monster from your graveyard to the hand, the same original type as one of those destroyed monsters, which sometimes it's going to be a little bit more difficult to resolve that effect because your extra decks are Beast Warriors and your main decks are Warriors and Beasts. But what makes this card so good is you could activate a Link to the Reigns and you could get all the way into a Lightheart and your opponent could not respond to Lightheart. It guarantees you're going to get the field spell because your opponent cannot activate card effects when a monster is Link summoned this way, and because the Lightheart is on summon, specifically to the extra monster zone, you get the add, which means it can't be ashed. Beautiful. It can also be used to make Tri-Heart as well. You just need additional monsters to do so. And it is, again, a way where you can dodge the whole limitation of needing to use a normal summon effect. And like I've said before, the only one that you normal summon that uses its effect is, of course, Right-Heart. So that's where you can kind of play around with it and adapt that as you see fit. We've then got triple Scareclaw twin swords. This is basically like Blackout for Sword Soul. Really, really cool card for the deck. Again, I can't wait for this to get a rarity bump in the future. Again, I love the idea of the battle between the Castrias and, of course, this Starfrost. So you target a Scareclaw monster you control, target 2 cards your opponent controls, destroy them, and if you do, and if you control Vista Starfrost, banish those destroyed cards instead of sending them to the graveyard. If a Link 3 or higher monster is on the field, you can banish this card from the graveyard. For the rest of this turn, neither player can activate the effects of Link monsters on the field. So obviously it's a little bit restricted because it locks your monster, but you would have already activated everything to then trigger this to then protect your Link 3. And then the final one that I've put in is the 1 Scareclaw Splash. I love the artwork again of this. It is literally Vista Starfrost and the Right-Heart. Once per turn, target a Scareclaw monster or Vista Starfrost you control. It can attack while in face-up defense position. That's not as applicable, but it does give you that ability to let you use your defense position monsters, which is funny because they're all 2k attack. The other effect, which is what makes it more important, is when your opponent activates a card or effect while you control a Scareclaw monster in the extra monster zone, you get to send this card, face-up card you control to the graveyard to negate that effect. So the idea is you will have like Lightheart or Tri-Heart in the extra monster zone. You can flip this. Obviously, you've got to be able to target a Scareclaw monster or a Vista Starfrost you control. And then, because you've got this continual up, you've always got a negate that's going to be live. Now, yes, it will send, but it's just one of the ones where it's like, okay, go on then, bro, do something. And you know this is going to have the capability to deal with it. Off the back of that as well, if you're playing the Adventure Engine, or if you go into Baron de Fleur, because you've got the ability to do so in your extra deck with Vista Starfrost and Right-Heart, that will then give you access to a Baron. So you've got 2 negates, meaning that this deck starts to thrive going first and second, which is a nice balance that you're always going to want to have. For the Link monsters, obviously you've got the 1 Almirage, so this is literally in here to normal summon any of the lower levels with Parallel XEs. Now, obviously, if you don't open up Parallel XEs in the hand, you're not going to want to try and do this play. There's no need to do so. Then, of course, you've got triple Lightheart. This card is nuts for the deck. Such a cool introduction. This is the one that's been splashed in other versions. So it requires a Scareclaw or Vista Starfrost. For the cards Link Summon, you can only use monsters in your main monster zone as material, which means obviously you can't just go... for example, if this is a Scareclaw in the extra monster zone, you can't train it to that. You can't go Tri-Heart into this either. Specifically, if it is Link summoned in the extra monster zone, you get to add the planet from the deck to the hand. And then if you control Vista Starfrost, you can special summon this card from the graveyard. You only use each effect once per turn. So again, you get to bring it back. So, for example, activate planet, get to your Vista Starfrost tribute this off, bring this back. You've now got a zone point in left. Carrying on with the Link monsters, we do have 2. Let's go with the Scareclaws first. We've got the 2 Tri-Heart. Now you can play at 3 if you want to. I thought 3, kind of down to 2, gave a bit more variety for the deck for Rob. It's such a cool card. So it must be link summoned, and all face-up monsters on the field are changed to defense. It's unaffected by the activated effects of defense monsters, so fusions, laugh your days off. And then once per turn, if this card is in the extra monster zone specifically, you get to target a level 3 Scareclaw monster in your graveyard and special summon it. And if you do, you get to add a Scareclaw monster from your deck to the hand. You can't special summon monsters for the rest of the turn except Scareclaws. Like, he cares. So you activate the effect. Let's say you use, let's say you went the Parallel Xyz route, okay? And let's say, what's the best one we've got? We want Astra, and then we'll go with, let's go with Ballon first. So let's say you normal summoned your Ballon, you turn your Ballon into Almirage, you summon down 2 Parallels, you make your Tri-Heart. Tri-Heart effect will then let you bring back the Ballon, that will go in defense. It will then trigger the effect to search you out one, which will be Astra. You can then special summon down the Astra because you control into an adjacent zone or the same column. So you could go, let me move the mat up a little bit, there you go. So then you could go, okay cool, special summon down the Astra. Now what this is going to give us is this is going to give the ability of Tri-Heart to attack 3 times, and it's going to give the ability for Tri-Heart to have piercing damage. So that's going to be able to ultimately push for you for OTK. There's no guarantee it will get you OTK depending on what your opponent's board state is. But yeah, I think that's really, really kind of cool and a very nice combo. All from technically 2 cards, so Parallel and then any lower form of Scareclaw. Continuing on with the link monsters, we do have the one Dark, the Dark Charmer. Again, it's not so hard to make, and then reviving your opponent's dark monsters is really, really important sometimes. If you don't want to play this, of course, that's where Cherubini comes in, but then you adapt the deck to your personal liking. IP Masquerena moving into a Unicorn alongside a Appaloosa and, of course, an Underworld Goddess. You could, if you want to, put access code in here. The issue is most of your cards are going to be darks anyway, so you're not going to get the maximum amount of output for it. Yes, you could make it straight off of a Tri-Heart. Yes, so what I mean by that, before everyone goes, no you can't, you don't use Tri-Heart's effect to bring back from the graveyard, you just summon it. So from your 2-card combo, you would then add a third, and then off of that third combo, that third card in your hand, as long as it is a free special summon of a Scareclaw, you could then use the Scareclaw you special summon plus the Tri-Heart and go into Access Code. Access Code will then gain 3k and it will have a Fire and a Dark in the graveyard to pop 2. Now obviously you're ideally not going to want to do that because by that point you've used that combo, you probably have a better route to do it, which is why Access Code is not in here. For the XYZs, we've got the one Break Sword because again you can just spam your board with level 3s. I did consider Rusty Bardiche as well, and again I think that was something that I would consider more so if you were playing the Cherubini engine with the Adventure package. One Abyss Dweller, so this is probably, in my opinion, the best rank 4 right now that you could make off of your Parallels. You're probably going to want to be using your Parallels to make your Link monsters, which is why there isn't a more rank 4 heavy kind of appearance, but it kind of works the best way. And then for the 2 level 10s, so Ballon and of course Chengying. So the idea is you've got your Aggressor here, so reduce your monster's attack by the amount banished and increase your monster's attack by the amount banished, and then Baron de Fleur Omni Negate. Obviously, if you don't have access to this one, do not worry. You fall back on this. You can put in Time Thief Redoer. You can put in Tornado Dragon. That's where you've got the ability to be creative because you can see the deck has access to Synchros, XYZs, and Links. And again, that's where Super Poly comes into play. You can even put in Fusions if you want to. It really depends on what you have access to. The cards are going to start to slowly creep up, especially the hype with the hype off of the back of Tier Elements and the YCS. So be warned. That's kind of what you're looking at right now. However, I really do like the idea of the deck. I was trying to build it myself for a while, and then ultimately Rob was like, I wanted to build it. He wanted to build it, and I was like, yeah, sure, no worries. I'll give you the cards that I've got, and then work it from there. But really kind of cool, fun deck. I think it's just going to continue to get stronger, and I can't wait to see where it can kind of go from this point on. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you do have any questions, please put them in the comments down below. Rob will be able to give you more in-depth detail on exactly how the deck operates itself. But I've given you pretty much the basic knowledge and the basic laydown and a basic structure for you to build off and adapt and make it your own. Anyway, as absolutely always, guys, stay safe and, of course, happy dueling.